welcome to another show. Don't get this twisted. I'm Rob, along with my co-host as always, Tina. How you doing, Tina?
I'm hanging in there, Rob. How you doing?
About the same.
We got past Thanksgiving.
We got past Thanksgiving, which actually wasn't that bad for me. It was very, very mellow.
Yeah,
It
wasn't bad for me either.
It was just me and my friend down the street. So there was she didn't have the kiddos or anything. So it was literally just us two and a lot of food. We actually watched TV all day. It was kind of chill, actually.
Nice.
Mm-hmm.
We only had 16 people at the house, which normally isn't a big deal. I cooked a couple of roasts, like some pork shoulders. It came out really good.
Nice.
And today after this, I'm gonna go to my friend's house, and she and I are gonna bust out tamales for Christmas.
Very nice. Very nice.
One big step, closer to having my shit together.
Yeah. My friend down the street was supposed to make tamales, but it's a lot of work. And she was like, I don't think I want to do it. So I don't think she's going to, even though I said I would help and I don't even know what the hell to do. But I was like, I'm sure I can learn. So
well, if you want to come down and help me, I'll show you how to do it.
I'm sure. Hey, you have to watch this show, but I got to find it. We watched all 10 episodes on Thanksgiving Day, but it's on Netflix, but it's a comedy. Hold on. It's really, really, really funny. Let's see what it's called though. Hold on. I pull her IMDb up. It's got Kirsten Bell in it.
Mm-hmm.
It's called Nobody Wants This. It's really Nobody Wants This. It's about two sisters who have a podcast, and one of them falls for a guy, but I don't want to ruin it for you. You got to watch it. It's basically she falls for a guy, and it's the hijinks of what happens as things progress. No. But it's funny because the two friends have a podcast, or the two sisters have a podcast on it. And it's interesting to see, because I think it'll be funny how things change if either of us really start dating, because their podcast changes as she dates this guy. And there's turmoil in it. It's quite humorous, but I think you should give it a try.
Well, I think when we've dated, we've already had problems with it.
Right.
I had a couple.
Exactly. But I mean,
of people that in the start didn't want me doing this at all and didn't trust you at all. And I'm like, oh, come on.
What I'm talking about is how she changes. you got to watch it, because I don't want to. Yeah, because if I say things, it'll ruin kind of what happens. But like how maybe I'm pretty outspoken and outgoing, and how I would maybe like totally change. That's kind of how things on that show. You'll see, but you should check it out. It's quite humorous. Well worth the 10 episodes to watch it. It's and they go quick. I want to say they're only 30-minute episodes. So like that's why we watched it in a sitting.
Okay.
But speaking of fun stuff, we have the holidays coming.
In a 5-hour sitting.
Mm-hmm. The holidays. We have done several shows on the holidays, and the holidays are like this very bizarre thing. I think as you get older, they become less fun. They become more turmoil than they're worth. Or in this case, I think this year people are just broke, and man, it's very difficult. And it's not just one or two of us. I've talked to several people, my friend down the street, multiple people at my work, not just one. Out of all of us, the people that are in the sales force, with the exception of my boss, But the four of us, the four guys in front, are already like, it's going to be so difficult. You know, uh, we're just hurting anyway, right? The economy isn't the greatest. So, what do you think? I mean, what do you think we should do to either pump spirits up, or get through the holidays unscathed as much as we can? Because I know it's going to be difficult either way. And some people just don't like the holidays or Christmas. My friend down the street hates Christmas, just
That
not a
would be me.
Christmas. See, you're man, you
Yeah,
guys
and
will. And again, speaking of just off topic, I did talk to her today, and we just need to set up a time now because she'll have some free time to do a pod with you. So, but yeah, she's like, we were talking about it. She's like, I just have never really liked Christmas since her father passed away, and I think that might have been like a set off moment. And I think a lot of people have kind of that. Um, my ex-wife was one of them. Her
well,
mother,
that's definitely the case for me with my mom too.
yeah. See,
Like
so
we have not decorated in 13 years.
wow. Oh, okay.
Mhm.
So that's definitely it. So what do you think people should do though? Like what's a because for me, like you can put a smile on and it's pretty. I mean, some people can. It's like, yay, it's cool. It's great if you have little kids around you. I think it's still to me is awesome uh, as long as you can have
Yeah.
that. Once you get to like my kid doesn't even give a shit anymore. He wants money and that's it. Uh,
Mhm.
and there's nothing wrong with that. I just think that there's no like hype for it. It's just there's no happiness behind it because Santa doesn't have to come. It's just what it is. So for me, it's that, and I think when other family is into it, it's got to be very difficult.
Well, nobody in my world's really into it. I mean, we all like to get together, and my niece and nephew are in ages where the money is great too.
Mhm.
But I think COVID set me free from having to buy presents for every single person in the family and all the kids and all that. We don't do that now, thankfully, and I don't want to get back to that. Um, I do like to do something special for my niece and nephew, and since COVID, we've been doing games. Like I make a big ball of crazy gifts, and we all play the game together. My dad, my brother, all of us, and we do games, and I find that the kids love that. They're like, "What game are we doing this year? What game are we doing this year?" So we do games now for like littler gifts. I still give my niece and nephew money, or if there's something that they want, or if they want to go somewhere, I still do that for them. But now it's more or less like let's just play and have fun and interact and make it something where we're laughing because my niece and nephew are clowns. They like to laugh. They like to do fun things. Like, for instance, on Thanksgiving, my brother brought them over early, and I was like, "Shit, I'm not ready. I don't have everything done." And the kids were in the living room laughing and dancing around and acting like fools while I was cooking, but I could see them, and my brother was sitting there. We were all laughing. It was just the four of us, and it ended up being a really good Thanksgiving. They set the stage for a really good time, and we all were close and enjoyed each other, and it wasn't so frustrating.
Mhm. I think
So I'm kind of working on doing stuff like that.
that kind of because those are good interactions. I think that when you don't have a lot to give or you can't, um, or you're just like most people these days, really money is just such a huge deal. I think that you have to work around things like that with interaction. Um, I, I'm a big believer that look, if you're
And I think
going,
that's more the meaning.
I think it is too. But look, we both know that Christmas and Halloween and these things are corporate holidays. Valentine's Day, they're there to make money for people. And look, I'm in a field where it helps because I'm in the electronics business. So I will tell you, last week we sold a shit ton of TVs. And I don't mean like a little bit.
Really?
Oh yeah. And I mean a lot, a lot. Um, where I work, we send things out to Palm Springs, out to the desert. We were loading trucks every day with like 15 TVs. So
Wow.
yeah, we did quite well. So I get both of that, but I also think it is about the experience. Mostly as you have older kids, um,
Mhm.
and I think it's about friends and family. You should be able to share those things. For me, since all my family is really gone, they're either in other states or my mom's passed away. So I don't really have family here. So when I did Thanksgiving, I told her, like, look, I want to, she said, oh, I'll make dinner, blah, blah, blah. And I was like, cool, that's great. But I want to I want to like give. So I bought the turkey. And um, if I happen to get an invite to Christmas with her, I'll do the same. Like, I want to give in because I think that that's part of it too. That's putting together to make sure everyone has a good time. Um, so I
Mhm.
think those are things as well that you can do. Like Friendsgiving, you can have a friend's Christmas, even though one person might have family and you don't. Um, it's about coming together, though, I think. Um, look, we should do this year round.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, see, I think
Mhm.
my family got it. Yeah, I guess I'm basically it. I'm the matriarch of the family. So for me, it's like I'm gonna do what I like to do, and what I like to do is spend time. Like I've always been the one to play games with the kids. I'm always the one to um, get everybody going and interacting and talking and everything. So since I'm that person, I always try to do something where that's what we're doing.
See,
And so I
that's
find that I don't have to spend as much money
mhm. Do you find it
and they're
hard that
enjoying themselves.
you have to do everything now?
Yeah. Oh yeah. Oh my gosh. Like just the stress over tamales. My aunt used to do them and then she hit her head one year and she lost her taste, her sense of smell, everything. So she just came to me like a few days after Thanksgiving and she said, "Guess what? You're in charge of tamales now for Christmas." I had never done tamales on my own. They had me put them together, but never cook all the stuff.
Right.
So I had to really scramble, and I have a really good friend, one of my best friends, and she always makes tamales. So I reached out to her and said, "Will you help me?" She makes amazing food, so she helped me, and we did it together, and it was a good experience. So now I don't want to do it with the whole family because the whole family comes over. You got to feed everybody. They all make a mess. They don't know what they're doing. It's like herding cats, and it takes triple the time it would normally take if it's just me and my friend doing it. So I find that I try to get out of doing it with the family and just do it with my friend because it's a better experience. It's an easier time. I don't mind if people want to help and put stuff together, but man, the freaking mess and all the stuff we have to do and oh, should we do this and should we do that? And when I get together with my friend, she's like, "Okay, put them in here. We're going to do this. We're going to do that." It's already planned. It's just action. Just do it. Let's get it done and then we're going to go have fun. And I really enjoy that. I really do. So this year, nobody said anything about tamales. So I made the big roasts that are going to go in the tamales.
Mhm.
So I'm going to take that over to her house. We don't even have to sit there and watch meat cook. We just have to go over there, put them together, and it'll be a nice day. She'll drink, and we'll just sit and talk and have a good time.
See, that's cool because I like that experience. I think, and,
Yes.
and since that's not even like the holiday day, that's like leading up. So
Hmm.
it's like you're still having a good time for the holiday spirit,
Yeah.
but not on the day. Because look, we all know. I mean, unless you don't have kids or never had or been around them, Christmas Eve and Christmas Day. If you're Hispanic, obviously Christmas Eve, and if you're white like me, Christmas Day. It it's generally pretty crazy if when you have children or grandkids or
Hmm.
whatever it is, because look, they are in that spirit and it's great. But when you start thinking like, you're right, the cleanup, the mess, the cooking, the, making sure this is warm and this is cooked and this is, it's got to be turmoil, and I've never had to do that, thankfully. Um, so watching her cook Thanksgiving was quite interesting for us because she pre-cooked a lot of stuff and just brought it and then heated it up, which was brilliant since it was only two of us. But when you have people that have 20, 30 people coming to one one event, has to just be fucking nightmare.
It can be. It's a lot. You just learn. I guess I've been doing this my whole life, so I've learned how to cheat and get out of certain things. For instance, I know that once everybody comes over, they're going to be heating up their stuff and doing whatever, plating their food. They're not going to have everything that they need. So I know that when they're going to come over, I make the time like 1 o'clock. So I have all of my stuff cooked and ready to go by 1 o'clock, and I step out of the kitchen. And if I get out of the kitchen, I stay out of the kitchen.
Right.
So that does me some good. But I've been caught up in years where I've been trying to do something when my aunt's been trying to do something, and oh my god, it drives me effing crazy. I love my aunt; she is the best, but I don't like to cook with her. So I don't.
Right.
I get out of there before she shows up, and then she's like a little tornado, and I just deal with whatever aftermath I got to deal with.
Right.
But I am grateful that everybody that comes over now that everybody's older help out with dishes and clean up and bagging up all the leftovers and stuff so that they could take stuff home. I appreciate that, but
Yeah.
it's still a lot.
I'm big on that as well. Where like I brought a bunch of Tupperware over because she had told me like, look, you better bring stuff because there's going to be a shit ton of leftovers,
Hmm.
and there was. And her son couldn't come; he had to work, so I'm sure he cleaned up the next day. But I brought all that over. She likes to do dishes as she goes,
Hmm.
which is
Me
brilliant
too.
as well. So literally after we were done and we bagged everything up, she had almost 90% of everything done. We just sat back down and watched TV again.
Hmm.
So I can get that. I'm big on dishes. So if I'm getting fed for free, I generally try to do them.
Hmm.
Um, I get in trouble over her house all the time. She's like, "Why are you doing the dishes?" I'm like, why not? Like, I'm a big boy. I can
You
help with it.
should contribute, be
Yeah.
a part of it.
And I know people in their kitchens. So some people are crazy. Like she doesn't let me cook anything or cut or anything. So I do my best to like that's why I do the dishes. But um these are family events that, you know, can also get out of control. Um I haven't been in any where there's been arguments or weird stuff happen, thankfully. Um but I've heard some horror stories about that as well, to where, you start getting brothers and sisters and aunts and uncles that have issues with each other together, and it can turn sideways very quickly.
Mhm. We have, in my family, we're having an issue right now where it's my dad's kids, which is my brother and I, versus my uncle's kids, which not kids, but the daughter and her wife. Um, they they have decided that they don't want to celebrate holidays with us, so it's literally split the family in two. Like my uncle and all of his kids and stepkids, they stay at his house, and everybody else comes to my house. Um, and so when my aunt was saying, she said, "Well, since you don't have a kitchen right now, we'll just do Thanksgiving at my house." And I said, "No, we're going to do it at my ex's house because I'm house sitting. And that way my aunt, which is my uncle's ex-wife,
Mhm.
could be at the festivities as well." And it ended up where their kids went everywhere. So she called me the next day and said, "Well, are we invited?" And I told her, I said, "Yeah, I'm not exclusive. If your family, show the fuck up. Like,
Mhm.
there's no reason not to show up. I've never been, I'm not gonna roll out the welcome wagon and hand, pick who I'm gonna have there. My friends, my family, they all know if you're hungry, show up. That's it." And I told her, I said, "I'm not exclusive about who comes to my house. The people that are supposed to be there will be there." And I hope that she got the picture. that the shit that they're pulling isn't right because it's not.
Right.
We've always stayed together and, if somebody doesn't want to go, they just don't go. That's on them, not us. But I'm kind of tired of all the bullshit with that, and I'm not one to shut up. So if somebody says something, I got an opinion, I'll say something back. And I don't care anymore. I'm tired of dealing with people and their exclusivity like they're better than anybody else. They're not.
Yeah. I just think also people in general with family are just tired. And when we've been so good to people for so long
Mhm.
and and then something goes sideways, you are just like and you get to the point where you're like you don't care anymore. You're like, okay, I don't care because they're spoiled or entitled or whatever it is. And I think that people start throwing a lot of that stuff around in the holidays as well. It's like, you know, well, what about the kids? And what about this? And what about that? And you got to get to a point where you're like, yeah, but you're being shitty. Like, what
Yeah.
is it? Uh, I'm all up for trying to look. We should be great with our family and friends year round. But I'd seen a post by somebody on Facebook, and they were talking about like, oh, Christmas is nonsense, and we should celebrate this every single day. It's like, yes, we should
In a perfect world.
in a perfect world. But here's the thing: the whole point of having one day of year to do it is to make sure you do it.
Mhm.
Like I find when people make uh, outlandish things like that, like we should do it every day. Of course we should. Everyone should. It's kind of like Valentine's Day. I'm not a fan of Valentine's Day because I think you should show you love your spouse or mate every single day. And you're more likely to get flowers from me on a random day in September than you are on Valentine's Day, just because I think that it's so overly,
Overdone.
yeah, it's just like dinner costs 5 times as much. Roses cost 5 times as much. It's all these nonsensical things about it. Where like Christmas, it's really not like that. Gifts cost the same year round. Matter of fact, at Christmas time, you could probably get a better deal on a lot of stuff. So it's not even about that. It is about being with family and making sure they know that you mean something to each other. And I think now that my mom's gone, and I mean, the same with you, your mom's gone, my friends, her dad's gone. You start seeing family, to me, a little bit different. I think you start really um, enjoying the time that you may have left with people. At least in my case, that's how I see it. Because look,
That's why we did
Mhm.
what we did with having it over at my ex's house, because that way my aunt, who is the ex of my uncle, could be there with her kids. Otherwise, she's excluded and she doesn't have other family. She's just got her kids. And I just don't think that that's right. Not having a mom, I'm not going to exclude my cousin that has one.
Exactly.
It's bullshit.
And again, like uh, without being utterly morbid, but we are in our 50s,
Mhm.
so time is fleeting,
Mhm.
and you should enjoy if you have your parents. You should enjoy them. It's difficult,
Absolutely.
and um, even if you've had issues, because I know people who've had issues with their parents, and thankfully, the few that have made strides to make their relationship better.
Mhm.
They don't forget what happened in the past, because you shouldn't ever. But
But you should learn from it for sure.
yeah, and I think that they know that, look, mom is in her late 70s. That's when my mom passed away. My dad's in his early 80s. It's like I don't know how many years I have left with my dad. So um I'm going to make a trip out once it gets he lives in South Dakota. So once winter is over, because winter in South Dakota is gnarly. I don't know if I can go there in the 7-degree weather, but come springtime, I'm going to head out and see him because I didn't get to see my mom, COVID, and she had breathing problems, and she didn't want to die from COVID. But um, I just think that these are the things that the holidays are really, really about. I mean, yes, it is. Is it about gift giving? Sure, but I give gifts year round too to the people that generally I care about.
Right.
So I, I'm more worried about the people who are out there that because some people it's expected when you have people in your life, even though you might not be doing well, it's still expected by the family to show up and do it or to really put a smile on. And sometimes you can't. And I think that this year, a lot of people are having issues with not being able to put a smile on.
Well, I think that when you're with your family, you should be able to be real. You should be able to be who you are.
Mm-hmm.
And, within reason, don't be an asshole just because, you want to fight with your brother on that day or whatever.
Right.
That's just not the day to do it. Pick 364 other days. There's something you could do to them any other day. Just when, I always say, like with my cousins and stuff, and having these issues with us, which we don't know what they really are anyway, which makes it kind of stupid. Why are you fighting with me when we don't even know what you're fighting with? I think that's idiotic. However, I could be nice enough and say hi and give them a hug and then walk away from them and spend the holiday with the cousins that I do get along with. And we don't have to fight. You go into the kitchen, I'll be in the living room. You want to go into the living room, I'll go outside. It's not a big deal. You People know how to act because we have to work with people we don't like all the time.
Mm-hmm.
So why can't you just do that the 3 or 4 times a year that you have to get together with your family, and the rest of the time, you're fine. It's 3 days or what am I thinking? Christmas, Thanksgiving, Easter. Those are like the big
The
3,
big
right?
ones. Yeah.
You can't be nice to somebody for 3 damn days, and it's only a few hours. It's not even a whole 24.
Right.
So what kind of person are you that you can't get along with people to that degree? You gotta check yourself.
I agree. I think you have to get to a point where you can just, not open your trap and go crazy for, you know, a couple of
Yeah,
hours.
pick another day to fight. The very next day, start fighting. I don't care.
Right.
Do whatever you're going to do,
Right. Right.
but shut the fuck up and do what you need to do to make the family experience okay.
I agree. And I think that look, I loved my mom to death.
Mhm.
I loved her, but she could how can I put this? She
Just
had no filter,
nice.
zero
I like
filter.
people like
It was great. But that being said,
that.
she could get out of hand sometimes in a good way. But she just had, man, she could say things that, and me and my poor brother would just sit there and go, because she'd start talking. Like I said, some people don't know, but she worked in a mental facility for a long time. So she would start telling stories about the people and that she, had to deal with. And although can be funny, and a lot of it was, some of it just didn't need to be told. And once she got on a roll, she would get on a roll. So like those type of things, or where that your dad has a way of saying things that may offend people because that's just who they are. Sometimes you just have to sit back and go, "Oh, I'm just going to let it roll. Don't say anything." Like, because it is better for everyone. And I think that there's something to that.
And if people get offended, I'm so over this whole I'm offended. I'm offended. I'm like, good. I'm glad you're offended. I'm glad that sparks something in you that you actually have an opinion. I'm over this whole offended thing. It
Right.
just bothers the hell out of
I,
me.
I just get to the point where you're like, who it is. parent, uncle,
Yeah.
sister, you know, sister's girlfriend, boyfriend, who you, if you've been around them enough,
Mhm.
and I think that then there's the flip side of that. If you're going to one of these get-togethers and you are with your mate and you have only heard stories, you have to be able to be situational and go, okay, I know what it is. I've been told about this person, you act accordingly. I don't think you should not be yourself, but you should also act accordingly.
Mhm.
There's a time and place for everything. And it's kind of like the company Christmas party. The company Christmas party, um, if you work for a huge company, I think you know the rules. You know not to get too drunk. You know not to shit on your boss in front of other people. If you're the date going to that, you know how to be professional, you know what I mean, and not get out of hand.
Mhm.
We have a very small staff where I work, and I mean small. There's only 7 of us in the whole building. Four, five, six, seven, 7 of us. That's it. So even if everyone has a mate to bring, you're talking the Christmas party will only be 14 people.
It's smaller than my Thanksgiving.
Right. So in my case, I think it's a little easier to be yourself and
Mhm.
not worried because most ever, at least with the people you've told people of your mate about them. Like I'm sure my friend at work, his wife knows about me and how I am and how I talk because we all say things. But so there's a time and place for everything. And I think that you know who you're supposed to be at certain places and you know not to be a certain way at other places. Because the holidays can be stressful with that as well. I couldn't imagine you know, taking well, I guess I could imagine because I'm pretty easygoing. It's got to be hard to go to a Christmas event with your mate for the first time. That's got to be one of those, because I mean we have movies based on it where they're, the boyfriend gets taken to the family Christmas party. Um, there's a movie called The Family Stone. I don't know if you've ever seen it. It's
Mhm.
really good. But that's kind of that thing where, yeah, it's when you're around all the brothers and sisters, they're going to grill you or, ask you questions that you may want to answer, but you may not want to. It's like, uh, that's always not my nightmare, but the scenario of you go to the Christmas party and you're there and you're like, yeah. And your mate goes away for a little bit and then they come towards you with like, so what's your intention with my sister? And it's like, okay. How do I answer this where everybody's going to be satisfied? Because you don't want to, because if you say, I plan on marrying her, then there's a whole plethora of questions behind that. But if you don't say there's a future, then it's like, why are you here? I thought you guys were this. It's like, I couldn't imagine that. I'm good with people. And I think that if I was driving over, I would have already had a conversation with my girlfriend. Like, okay, what's the right thing to say? So we're all on the same page. So you know,
Plans are in the works.
yeah, but I mean, good for everybody. So like,
I would
if
just say that plans are in the works. We're not quite there yet.
right,
We're
I,
figuring it out.
I think that's good, but I think she should also know that.
Yeah.
So then we're both saying the same thing. So then, because I think that look, and mostly if you're a guy, at least in my case, this is how I look at it. They're always going to be like, what's the future plans? Where do you see yourself? Like all these questions where I know that my family, if I take a girl to a Christmas party, they're not going to be like, so what do you do for a living? What do you do? Like they could give two shits. They're be like, do you want ham?
Mhm.
You know what I mean?
My
Like
family, my mom's not around anymore. She was one that would ask the questions. My dad and my brother, they really don't want to know.
they just leave
So
you.
they're
That's
like, "Hey,
cool.
how's it going? Would you like a beer?" Like
Yeah.
they're more that way, and
Right.
I'm the one, "So, how's it going?" And, "Tell me about you,"
Hmm.
but not tell me what your plans are because we just don't know. Life is so, um, what's the word I'm looking for? Life is just so life. I don't
Yeah.
things
I'm
change so often and
quickly.
so quickly that how do you plan for everything? You don't.
Mm.
You just don't.
Yeah. I mean, I think that there's good answers for that. I mean, mostly if you're young, you know, if you're, and I mean, young, I mean, young by 30. Um, look, if you're dating somebody at 30, your plan should be some kind of commitment. And I also think that if you're dating somebody at 50, there should be some kind of commitment. If you're in your 20s and you take the girlfriend to the Christmas dinner, I mean, the odds
She
are
may
that
not be there.
the odds are she's not. I mean, I saw a meme where the joke was make sure that you put the girl or boy you're dating at the very end of the outside of the picture so you can always cut them out.
Mhm.
The funny thing is I do that automatically. Or I
How do you
try
do that automatically?
I stand at the very far end because I know it would be better to cut somebody out. And that's just the photographer in me. I won't stand in the middle of the family. That's fucking horrible. Because then they'll never be able to you'll always be the sore thumb in that picture. You'll always be the, hey, isn't that guy the guy you dated? It's like, oh yeah. I do my best not to do that. But or I do my best not to even get in the family picture.
Mhm.
Yeah, I've actually told somebody I don't want to be in the picture, and I told them why. And I was like, "What if I'm not here in a year? That would be horrible." And they were like, "Ah, we don't care. Get in the picture." But
I think it's just what happened that year. I don't
Mhm.
really put too much
I agree.
thought into it.
I just find it that like these are the things that the holidays bring on. You know, there is stress on a simple date or a simple
Mhm.
taking someone to dinner or you know simply just getting like we used to do a thing with mine where once I had a son and my brother had his two, it got to the point where we were like, okay, look, we're only gonna buy gifts for the kids. Then it kind of streamlines everything. No one has to worry about we'd all get together for a dinner and the kids would get gifts. And I just thought that that made it simpler. So then you don't have to worry about, you know, the brother and his wife and the kids and then mom, dad, like it just became and look, we were all if you have small children, you know that, they cost a lot. So, at one point, when I was married, we were sending I had two teenage daughters and then my newborn son. And then by the time he was two and a half or three, he was going to pre-K, which was like, 500 a week. So things just were tight. And I think that these days we're kind of back into that same time period where a lot of people are just living paycheck to paycheck.
Mhm.
And you're, now here comes Christmas and you're like, okay, how do I put away a little money, stash this here? And you're almost to the point where you got to stash it starting in September.
Well, a good thing that my grandparents taught us was Christmas clubs. You take $10 a week, $20 a week, and it goes into the savings account that you just don't touch.
Hmm.
And then the savings account opens, I think it's in November, like the 1st of November. You have a chunk of money, and that's the money that you use for your Christmas. It's a Christmas club, I
Hmm.
guess. And I noticed that that works really well for me. I just open it up. It just takes the money automatically. I don't even miss it.
Hmm.
And then at the end of the year, you just pull it out. Yep.
I, I do that in my regular life. I actually have an
Mhm.
account that takes a certain amount of money out every payday. So no matter what, it just and you're right, like you don't realize it because you look at the balance and you don't know.
Yeah.
That's actually a really good idea. I mean, I think I might do that next year.
You got to start it now.
Yeah.
You
Well,
start your account. It's so easy. You could do it on your phone.
mhm.
You start it up, set it up, it goes,
Yeah, and it
and you
takes
just don't even know what's going on.
yeah. I mean, because if you did $10 a week, $40 a month is will go a long way in 12
That's
months.
$520 that
Yeah.
you'd have at the end that you wouldn't have normally. And who's gonna miss $10 a week?
Yeah. No, that's a fucking Starbucks.
Yeah, exactly. If you wanna save some money, quit going to Starbucks.
Yeah. But yeah, well, for sure. I totally agree with that. But you are right. Like something as simple as that will make next year way better. I think
Yeah,
that should be the biggest thing from today's pod is a Christmas club or a Christmas
yeah.
account, because I think you're right. You will, and I think as long as you don't drain it, right, totally
No,
dry.
don't touch it. Just don't
No,
touch
but
it.
I mean, even the following, by the time December comes, if you don't drain it all the way dry, it'll just continue on. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? Like you don't have to close the account. You just can't take it below a certain number
Oh,
without.
you could take it all the way out.
Oh,
And
really?
yeah, and then it'll
Oh,
just start up again. It's the same account.
oh,
It's just a thing for Christmas.
oh! I'm gonna look that up on my app then.
Mhm.
I'm gonna totally do that. I wonder. Now you got me wondering, there, Tina. I'm gonna check how to do that. That's awesome.
It's just a smart way to do things. And my grandparents, they didn't have a lot of money and they had a lot of grandkids. They had 9 grandkids. So and we got our check every year for $25. That's
Right.
what we got. And then I got a little bit more because my grandmother said, what do you want for Christmas? And nobody would say anything. Well, I always liked this perfume, so I would tell her I like this perfume because I liked presents to open up.
Hmm.
So she would get me my perfume, and then my grandfather would still give me my $25. They probably just didn't talk, and let each other know what they were doing.
Right. Yeah, I'm sure.
But I was always the kid that helped, so I felt like, well, if the kids showed up more and had a relationship with their grandparents, they'd Pop and Grandma know what to get them too.
That's probably with all of us, to be
Yeah.
fair. That's
Yes.
pretty much all of us. Um, it was funny too, because on Thanksgiving, I was talking to my friend over there and we were talking about, because she's a grandma and she's a young grandma, but she was telling me about her sisters and brothers and how many because I was like, wow, there's like a bunch of you. I go, how many grandkids do you have? And like each of her siblings have 4 or 5 grandkids. And so there's like 17 grandkids. And I was like, holy crap. Like, and so I was like, kind of making a joke. And I was like, man, your mom is like a great grandma. So her mom's great grandma that has that many great grandkids.
Mhm.
It's absurd, which is really cool though. Cause I think that, I don't know if all her family get together at the holidays, but I know some of them do. Um, but it is an interesting thing to think like, you know what you would have to do? You'd have to put $40 a week away to make sure that you can pay off all the grandkids by the next Christmas.
Mhm.
It's a great thing. Look, I like the holiday, um, but I like it for young kids just because it's fun still. And there's nothing like watching young kids run to the Christmas tree because Santa came.
Mhm.
Um, I don't know how we're going to do next year. Hopefully, the economy is in a better place and we're all at least not living paycheck to paycheck and or at least putting a little bit away because it's difficult these days. Um, my only thing is try to have a good holiday season. It's not easy. It's just not. And since we are recording this for everybody, this is actually December 1st. So we are literally in the Christmas season. We have 24 more days till the holiday is over.
Oh, Jesus.
Yeah, not to we're going to put some pressure on you.
Thanks.
Um, and just try to be kind to each other while you're out there, doing your shopping, assuming you actually leave your house. I think a lot of people are just online shopping these days.
You know what
Although,
I've noticed
mhm,
though? Everybody just spends way too damn much. We give our kids so much, the kids don't appreciate anything. And it starts little. There'll be a bunch of presents and the kid wants to play with the box. If that doesn't tell you how you need to downgrade what you're doing, nothing will.
mhm,
And set the expectation lower. Let kids know they don't get everything that they want and they shouldn't. They shouldn't,
yeah, because
because we're
life,
setting them up for failure for the rest of their life
yeah,
that they're
because
never going to get what they constantly want unless they just spend the money that they don't have to do it.
Hmm.
That's not teaching them how to live well.
No. Well, and to actually enjoy what you get.
Mhm.
You know, I'm gonna get her grandkids a couple of like little. I bought some gift bags on Amazon. So like my thing is, what can I fit in this bag? Because I
Mhm.
don't want to get out of control. And I was like, hey, what can I get them? And there's two boys and a girl, and she's like, well, I don't know because I'm gonna get a gift card so mom can go get them things, but I want to put something in the bag. So she's like, well, for the boys, maybe Hot Wheels. And like, it's so funny because I didn't even think about that. I'm like, oh, yeah, Hot Wheels. That totally works. I can get a couple cars here and there. And then she goes, you can get her granddaughter a pocket Barbie. And I was like,
Mhm.
pocket Barbie? She's like, yeah, they have a pocket Barbie. I was like, obviously, you can tell I haven't shot for little kids in a long time. And I'm like, that's brilliant. Because the bag's like, like a standard bag. It's like 5x7 or, 8 by something, like a very small bag. And I just want to be able to have a gift card, some wrapping paper, something in there. So it's small, but they get something on that day. And
Right.
I'm going to do the same for her, something very
Mhm.
small in a bag because, and I told her, don't get me anything because, obviously we're all living paycheck to paycheck. I said, just feed me because that
Yeah.
always works. Food is always a good thing.
Well, my nephew, who is now 18, he wouldn't tell me what he wanted one year. So I had a bunch of money for him, and I stuck it in a bottle of water and froze it. And then I wrapped it and gave it to him that morning, and he had to go sit outside and let it defrost so he could get to his money. So there's always fun ways, even if you want to give money, to do it.
Or cruel, one of the two.
Oh, he thought it was hysterical. He laughed so
I
hard,
think
but
it's
he's got
funny
a
as
good
hell.
sense of humor. Yeah.
Yeah. I think that's quite humorous, actually.
Yeah.
I think
I
we
go,
should,
"Don't tell me next year and let's see what I do next." And
yeah.
he goes, "I think I'm gonna just not tell you because this is hilarious."
Yeah. Now that I think about it, what might be fun is, I mean, not freezing them, but like getting gift cards and putting them in Jello because they'll be okay. And then they can eat the Jello to get to the gift card.
That's kind of gross but funny.
Yeah.
There's so many things you can do.
Yeah. I mean, I would put it in some plastic or something. I wouldn't just let it float in the Jello, but
Right?
it would be fun. That's actually a really good idea.
Oh, it's hilarious.
So, what do you think here for our last little kind words before we go for this holiday episode?
Quit being an asshole. Go to the holiday and try to enjoy it with the people that you have to be with. Make it as good as you can, and it's only one day, and then let it go.
Totally agree. I think enjoy what you can by the time you have it with somebody because it can go away very quickly. R-
Absolutely.
Remember that, look, you're right. Let's try to do this every day because of that same thing. But the one day, you know, put a smile on, do your best. And even if you're not doing okay, you know, at least visit. And then if you're not doing well, it's okay to bail out. But
Yeah,
make sure everyone knows that they mean something in your life because I think that's very important as well.
absolutely.
All right. Well, make sure you listen to us on every single format you can because we're on a crap ton of them. Um, Make sure you share this with your friends and your family because it is the holidays. And make sure to check us out on social medias. Even though I'm having issues with Facebook, I can't share links anymore. And they're getting horrible about it. But yeah,
Interesting.
I just got kicked back. I posted some stuff today, and they were like, "You can't do this anymore." I'm like, okay, so, but yeah, make sure you check us out, and we'll be back next week because we're gonna get back on this once a week thing and actually get everything rolling. And it's an opinion show, so don't get it twisted. Keep coming back every Wednesday. For my co-host Tina, I'm Rob. We'll see you in a week. Bye.
See ya.